doing to lessen the impact to life and health from natural disaster. Joining me today, emergency medical response team that involved in Ranau earthquake disaster, led by Dr. Yong, Suet, emergency physician from Hospital Queen and Elizabeth Sabah, assisted by Dr. Jacob, medical officer from Emergency and Trauma Department, Hospital Queen and Elizabeth Sabah, Ms. Priscilla Victus, paramedics from Emergency and Trauma Department, Hospital Queen and Elizabeth Sabah, and from Emergency Hospital Queen and Elizabeth Sabah. Before I start with Dr. Yong, I would like to give an audience to have an overview regarding earthquake 6.0 that struck Ranau, Sabah on the 5th June 2015. Then we see the video. So we don't have the sound. Okay, try play again.
Kejadian gunung bumi pagi tadi juga telah mengakibatkan runtuhan di kilometer 7.5 sehingga menyebabkan 105 pendaki termasuk pemandu pelancong serta beberapa kaitan taman-taman Sabah terperangkap di Gunung Kinabalu ini. Ketua Balai Bomba dan Penyelamat Ranau Jimmy Laku memberitahu pihaknya telah menerima panggilan kecemasan daripada salah seorang kakitangan taman-taman Sabah yang memaklumkan perkara tersebut. Sehingga kini kita telah terperangkap lebih 3 jam dan memohon bantuan udara daripada pihak bomba dan penyelamat.
Saya enam lagi manusia yang masih hilang sekian kecelakaan. Operasi disertai 60 anggota penyelamat berbagai agensi termasuk main. So, Dr. Yong, can you enlighten us what was happened on that day?
Thank you, Dr. Asmi. Very good evening. First of all, I want to give thanks for such an opportunity that we can bring Sabah before you and to bring Ranau earthquake disaster on the stage to share with you today. So I just want to share with you, for those who haven't gone to Sabah or who don't know how Mount Kinabalu looks like, this is the beautiful and magnificent look of Mount Kinabalu, also called Mount in Italian term. So it actually means iron road. So what happened on the 5th June is that at 7:15 a.m., where every one of us is preparing to go to work, staff, nurses, and staff in the hospital is busy Passover. So what happened is that it struck our state, Sabah. So this strike, it doesn't just shake Sabah, it shakes this nation. So there's two things that we started to do when after this first earthquake that we experienced, 6.0 Richter scale. So what we did that morning, that we got from our emergency department, we called up to meteorology department to confirm the site of the origin of the earthquake. Okay, So here is Mount Kinabalu, all right? So we confirm the locations of the origin and also find out that the area that's spread. So which area that's affected. So second, we call the engineers of the hospital. So to find out and assess the hospital safety, the structural component, whether it's safe for the staff to continue to be in the building. So thirdly, we also call up few district hospital, as for you to see in this map. Sabah divided into certain divisions, Kudat divisions, Sandakan divisions, Tabau divisions, interior divisions, and West Coast divisions. So we have to collect data from all these divisions to know that the hospital is it safe, the structures, whether it's safe, to assess whether the areas is affected by the earthquake. So lastly, we have to gather all these information to inform our pengarah. Right. So what's next is that at 10:40 a.m. So we received a phone call from Carlos to the MECC, Medical Emergency Call Center. So what information that we get is that there is 137 climbers that is still stuck up there in the mountain, but there is 52 of them is coming down, descending by feet. So for you have a rough idea what is Mount Kinabalu Trail map is that. So this is at Kudasan area, which is the base of the mountain. So this is Kinabalu Park, and this is Timuhang Gate, is the gate that the road that you go up to the peaks. So here is Laban Rata. Laban Rata is 6 kilometers that is from the base. So the peaks will be 8.72 kilometers. So for you to trek up there, so it takes time. So whoever that the 137 victims or survivors that is up there is stuck up here. So those who are they to walk down, right? So at 1:45 p.m., so the first emergency response team sent by Queen Elizabeth with the leading by the EP, so arrived in Kinabalu Park. So after we arrived there, we report ourselves to BKTK. So locations of the medical base was identified. At the same time, we also assessed for the place that for the helipad. So, but however, on that day, because of the weather factors, so there is limitations of the helicopters for the helicopters to land. So, okay, this is a clear picture. Okay, so Laban Rata is around here. At 5:50 p.m., right, we received the first yellow tag patients to our medical base. So overnight search and rescue, we total have victims of 1 red tag, 7 yellow tag, 7 yellow tag, 162 green tag, and 2 white tag. So it's until the next morning. So we have another team that sends to the helipad to set up another receiving point. So total another 2 days of search and rescue. But the next 2 days that we able to find is that the assembly of body parts and 16 bodies. I pass back the time to Dr. Asmi. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yong, for your sharing experience. As we all know, Malaysia is situated outside from a Pacific Ring of Fire, and how the earthquake can be happen in Ranau, Sabah. To answer the question, I would like to call Professor Dr. Filstongbun. He's a professor of geology and head of the Center for Natural Disaster Studies in UMS. But unfortunately, for Dr. Filstongbun cannot be with us, so we made an earlier interview with him. So that's it. The interview.
I'm Professor Filstongbun. I'm from University of Sabah. I'm a geologist. I'm also a fellow researcher at our Center for Natural Disaster Studies. Basically, Malaysia is not really an earthquake-prone country in that sense. Relatively, some parts of Malaysia are more prone than others. It happens that Sabah, which is quite near to the Philippines, is more prone to earthquake. And that's the reason why we have earthquake in Sabah, especially in Ranau, and also now they are possibility of having earthquake in Nadat also. Whenever an earthquake happens in Malaysia, and in fact, earthquake monitoring is being done by the Department of Meteorology. So every time when an earthquake happens, they will send certain head are directly related to to get that information. For example, they send to the head of the Minerals and Geoscience Department. I think they send also to the police and other relevant organizations. So that's how they usually do it now. Apart from that, they will also inform through radio immediately and also through the web. So in fact, if you're following their services, you can actually get immediate information from the Meteorological Department website. Because the epicenter was right underneath the mountain, and because of that, the mountain was physically shaken, and there was a lot of landslide around the mountain. And because of the landslide, whereby lots of rocks, soils, vegetation was actually scraped off from the mountain, it was deposited right at the bottom, and when it rained, and all these rocks was actually carried down stream and caused a lot of problem. And we call that mud flow or mud flood. And it did cause a lot of problem to some communities. And I think this is a very big complication, I'd say. Well, the possibility of having another impact on Mount Kinabalu is there. I think it's not that soon. Another earthquake will happen later, probably maybe 30 years from now, because the earthquake has already released a lot of energy in the last one. But I think that major earthquake will happen probably in other areas. For example, in Sabah. Probably think that Lahadatu and Kunang would be a very high probability, very prone area. And it is, big earthquake has not happened there for a long time. So this is the place that we have to watch out.
Thank you, Prof, for the interview. Dr. Nicholson, communication is a very important in natural disaster. Communication should be a vital element of any relief effort. Can you share with us what's your role during a Ranau earthquake disaster, and what your communication challenges that you encounter during the disaster?
Thank you very much, Dr. Azmi. As we all know, is that all disaster, emergencies, or crises is by nature chaotic and also highly dynamic, where it creates physical, emotional, and also social disorder. So in events of crisis and also emergencies of such disaster, communications play a very vital part to ensure that all phases of management is being done right and on time as well. So I was there as well at that time. My role at that time on the disasters Ranau earthquake was as a medical liaison officer. So briefly, very briefly, as a medical liaison officer, a liaison officer basically serves as a link between the management system and also to the emergency response team. So in this particular setting, I'm acting as a liaison in between on-scene medical commander as well as to on-scene commander. So speaking about communications importance, communications in disaster, it comes in two phases. The first phase is a preventive and also preparedness measures, that is to reduce or minimize the adverse effects. And the second is being following up actions in the occurrence of a disaster. And this is also include aftermath handling, and as well as to ensure all works is being done to mitigate. So during the Ranau disaster, communications was being established very well towards in our part as medical emergency response team and to the other agencies such as Bomba and the police as well. So it was very helpful and it shows a very important role in communications because we had from XRO team actually went up and it's actually led by doctors that is from the military and they went up with communication set. So when they, on the way they come down, they keep on updating us about the number of victims that are coming down and also the type of the patient, whether the type of patient is yellow or red. And in that case, we are very well prepared at the base even before the arrival of the patients. But however, we face one of the challenges that we face during these disasters management is the communications update to our operation base that is situated in Kota Kinabalu Hospital, Queen Elizabeth. As you all well know, is that Kundasang is an area of mountain, it's a mountainous area. So our radio network, as we call it, GERNSET, a government integrated network radio, is not functioning as how we expect it to be at the time because we are unable to contact our operation center in Queen with our GERNSET. And in that case, it caused some delays in asking for equipment and also asking for extra help because thankfulness is that our phone cellular line at that time is working. So we are able to contact back to our base using our phone line. So up to 11:30 p.m. is that when our base know that there is a problem with our signal and our guns cannot be used, our specialist EP standby at that time in operation center quickly call Sapura team for help and send in a rapid response vehicle, and that is comprised of a satellite. But unfortunately, that vehicle is situated in Lahad Datu, and Lahad Datu distance from Kundasang is about 500 kilometers. So that's why we called quite early, but going through all the procedures and protocols, the vehicles arrive safely at 11:30 p.m. And after that, we can establish a good communications with our operation center that's situated in Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So, retrospectively speaking, is that in the aftermath of disaster handling, time counts, and also to establish efficient communications is very important to ensure, and it's very important as well criteria to decide all efforts that we make is success. Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nicholson. Disasters are traumatic events that experienced by many people and may result in wide range of mental and physical health consequences. Post-traumatic stress disorder is the most commonly studied and probably the most frequent and debilitating psychological disorder that occurs after a disaster. Ms. Priscilla, can you share with us regarding your experience handling the emotional traumatic patient in Ranau disaster, especially the traumatized children?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Azmi. During the Ranau disaster, my role is a victim tracking officer, and I am responsible for the collective documentation of casualties. So I need to get details from each of the victims who arrived at our base for head count. However, what I have encountered on that day is difficulties on getting the details as they are suffering from severe trauma and they are emotionally unstable, especially the children. They were shaking and crying in shock as they were as they witnessed their own friend die on their way down. They really need special attention and support, but on that day we don't have a psychologist with us, so I have to calm them before I can get the details. And I'm not the expert. As well as we all know, psychologist is the most experienced and knowledgeable in handling emotional traumatized children or victims. In the Ranau disaster, the children are most likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder as they were directly exposed to the trauma as a victim and as a witness. Therefore, a psychologist is indeed needed to be on scene together with us medical team to reduce the stress and less the risk on developing post-traumatic stress disorder. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Priscilla. Mr. Ahmad, White House has released a report on lesson learned from Hurricane Katrina. US President demand that they find out the lesson, learn them, and they fix the problem so America is safer, stronger, and better prepared. So, Mr. Ahmad, what lesson learned that can be drawn out from this Ranau earthquake disaster?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Okay, from what we have been through, we find some weakness that we can share to for the purpose improve our service. If this situation happen again. Okay, one of that is evacuation of a victim. We found that this is a challenge because we only rely on land transportation and by feet to transport patient from mountain area to the medic base. We cannot use air service like such as helicopter due to the bad weather. So the process a little bit slow. Other than that, also patient anticipate complication with such as dehydration, hypoglycemia, and hypothermia. Other than that, we confess that we bring inadequate equipment to deal with disaster in the mountain area. For example, such as our PPE, we don't have proper PPE to add medical base and to go front for as search and rescue team. That's why these examples such as lighting and other medical equipments for the different age group. Other than that, in additional, assessment of hospital building and environment also have to be considered as a serious matter to develop an evacuation system. We must find a person who in charge for make sure our building hospital is safe. And last and not least, basic disaster training should be given to each hospital disaster response team, including the district hospital. This basic disaster training should be given especially to medical team at high risk zone and disaster prone area. Exposure to drill, improving skill and knowledge are extremely important for them to know the role play in handling disaster. Okay, for advanced training, we should look further and higher to considering sending our staff to straight country like Japan and to observe and adapt the well-established disaster management system for further exposure in our country. That's all.
Alright, thank you for all presenters. Conclusion that I can make from this Ranau earthquake disaster, first thing is be prepared, because prepared and prevention will yield sustainable result. Second, need of a disaster training of advanced disaster training to expose our staff to the drill and to improve the skill. A good communication during disaster is very important. And last but not least, psychological stress management also must be think of for better care of the patient. I think we already end our discussion. But before I end from this forum, I will take a quote from the NASA director. Work the problem until solution was found. Failure is not an option. By this, I end this forum by the video from Voice of Kinabalu.
Semasa performa berlaku, macam kami juga bisa macam terpecah sebab perkara ini belum terjadi sebelumnya.
Satu dirasa dari undang dari cerita juga, tapi saya bilang ada perasaan memang saya sangat takut. Tapi sampai sini saya merasa macam Kamu tanah.
Kami kan waktu itu pada sedang lepas itu sudah kejadian terlakukan, kami terus keluar dengan perasaan yang bingung juga lah, anak bayi begini habis belum makan, jadi begitu. Itu yang kami rasakan, sangat takut. Kita tahu mau buat apa sejak takut masuk ke rumah semua. Sampai satu hari itu kami masuk rumah satu kali sejak kami dengan siang.
Menghilangkan rumah saya dan kekuatan ya jumlah dokter itu
jam kami sudah tidak tentu di mana hendak kami masa itu.
Bagi saya rumah itu ada lagi lah, tapi jam 35 sudah rumah saya sudah berlakukan. Baru lepas belum melakukan dengan apa mau sekarang dengan kemampuan.
Sorry, we are out of time. You have extended more than 5 minutes, so I have to cut your video. Okay. Okay. So the next part is I would like to Kelman Dr. Chacha to give any question and any comment on the presentation.
Thank you for the presentation. I think, in my opinion, the most important thing of this answer is hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I think training is very important. I want to share in Thailand. In Thailand, we have to train healthcare personnel for dealing with this answer training. But after that, I think we would like to be on to the community. In Thailand, we have the community emergency response team. It's like a household in this area. We will train how they deal with the disaster. What do they do when disaster occur? So, as emergency physician, I think for the last 10 years there was various earthquake around the world. So I have the experience in the Nepal earthquake at the April. One day after the earthquake, I was dispatched by the Minister of Health of Thailand to help the victims in Nepal earthquake. So in Thailand, we have two teams. The first one we call medical emergency response team, like Ranau team like you. And the second team we call the MCAT, mental health crisis assistance team, because we would like to focus about the mental health crisis. Let me share you for the mental health crisis in Nepal. We have the one psychologist in our team, and we invite the students out here to draw the pictures of themselves. Half of them draw the collapsed house. So that means most of children have like a post-traumatic stress disorder or something like this. So I think as emergency physician, I think for the earthquake we have to prepare for ourselves to deal with the earthquake, because the earthquake can occur many things like landslide. I deal with the landslide, Nepal, flood, tsunami, and building collapse. Okay, so this is our challenge in the next years to come. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ben, any comment or question?
Thank you to the team from Sabah for your presentation and sharing your experience with us. A few things. First, Dr. Nicholson did mention about military being the Mesaro during that period. So I was just wondering, how was the interagency cooperation, not just talking about the military, all the other agencies involved with the medical team? Can you maybe share more of that, what you faced during that period of time?
Okay. As I mentioned during that time, the news was received. Initially, the plan was to, as I believe you all can see the news as well, is for the victims to stay up in the mountains, and meanwhile they will drop the food and also as blankets and clothing to prevent hypothermia and also dehydration. But unfortunately, after evening time, the victims trapped on the mountain decided to come down. So at that time, actually, we have received there was a continuous communications going on between the mountain guide and as well as the SARS team, and so the SARS team especially. So after the mountain guide giving information of how many victims that are injured and that are unable to walk, and that is when the Mesaro was going up there by foot. The only thing is that we are not all well trained. As you all can see, is that it's going up a mountain, and to Labanata it was 6.7 kilometers. I myself has climbed the mountain 2 months prior to the earthquake, and it took me 6 hours just to reach Labanata, and I couldn't wait to the peak. And so in this case, when we have a military doctor that is willingly to go up there, it does elevate and help us a lot in that sense. Besides the communication with the other departments was very well established as well, and teamwork is very vital in this.
Thank you. The other thing Ms. Priscilla mentioned about she had to see all the stress, post-traumatic stress patients. Yeah, and I agree with you that we need maybe a trained psychologist to help us in that sense. But as a paramedic or healthcare person, I think we also need to be prepared ourselves to manage those type of patients. I think the concept mentioned by Dato' Sri, psychological first aid, we need to equip ourselves with that. But hopefully, you already mentioned about the training that needs to be done, and I think this is one part that we should not miss or put it as a low priority. Okay. Question to Ms. Bisla, what about our staff working? Do you see anybody experiencing this post-traumatic stress disorder? That's one thing.
Actually, yes, because we all are not really prepared for this kind of situation.
A lot of them having this PTSD?
Yeah.
Yeah, really? Wow. So they need to be seen by our psychiatrists or... Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you, Jerry. Lastly, I would like to welcome Prof. Terry.
I want to congratulate you on a very well choreographed and practiced and planned presentation. It was very informative. You know, I think what we're learning in disaster management is that disaster medicine is a subset of disaster management. And in a lot of places in the world, there's a lot of national level or military level or international level attention being paid to disaster management and disaster medicine. What I think an opportunity for us in emergency medicine is to show these larger forces that if you want a disaster medicine system or a disaster management system for your country, one of the best ways is to build a good everyday emergency medicine system. So if you want disaster management, then you should build a good emergency management system. And I think that if we manage to convince the major health policy makers and policy makers in our countries that emergency medicine is essential to a disaster medicine system or disaster management system, we would go a long way towards preparing for the next disaster. And then just last, you can plan on communication failing. In almost every disaster, it's usually the first thing that fails. So it stresses the need for training, and preparation, because communication almost always fails at the time of disaster. So again, just congratulations on your very informative presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Terry. And then I think just give to the audience one or two questions. Or nobody want? Yes.
Help me. Bro.
Hello, my name is Azlan. I'm from ICCEM. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the team for the excellent presentation and very informative as well. I just want to know, have you been through the trauma of disaster in a hilly area like Mount Kinabalu? I'm sure it's not an easy task, it's very difficult, it's very challenging, and it occurs once in a blue moon. So now we are actually in the mitigation phase and preparedness phase for this disaster, and we don't know when it's going to strike again. So what has been the plan and also the future plan from the state as well as the hospital side in facing possible future earthquake?
Okay, first of all, like we have interviewed Prof. Felix. We have to identify the risk area. So, well, we have a Ranau disaster. So according to Prof. Felix, at that area, it's if for such a major disaster to happen again, it's take 20 to 30 years. But some other place that is identified is Lahad Datu, Punak, which is at the south part. So whichever, whether it is in Sabah or whichever place in Malaysia or other place, we have to identify the risk area. So once again, I have to echo back what the expert panel have mentioned. Training is a very important component in disaster management also. No matter it's trained as a tertiary center or even in a district hospital, what we face that day is that, well, I'm glad that I brought a full trained all staff that go to the base and set up my medical base. But those other teams that stand from district, where I face problem is that when they are not trained, they don't know their roles, that even though you have the personnel there, that cannot be fully functions. So training is one of the important components. It's not just about tertiary center, how you train, how high level, even to the district area, because they are the supporting team. So those are the things that we need to highlight. Right? I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, Dr. Yip from HUKM. In fact, I just want to ask about the communication, in particular the radio communication, because from the previous experience with the major events organization, it's always overloads of radio communication. So I would like to know whether in this case you have overloads of radio communications where the incoming message is too much, or outgoing message is too much that you overload for your system to manage. So how do you manage this condition? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At that time, actually, as I mentioned, is that we have a government integrated radio network that is our GERN, that is supplied by Sapura. But the thing is that it's not because of the system that is overloaded that we cannot use the GERN, but it's because there was absolutely no signal at all. There was no line at all, so we were unable to even communicate outside from our medical base. But the only way we can use is our cellular phone. So we have to use our cellular phone at the time. But unfortunately, one more thing is that, as mentioned by our colleague just now, Mr. Ahmad, is that we went there, we were not very prepared, unexpected that our GERN is not working as well as we expected. So we faced our handphone problem, which is battery. So our battery ended and died, and we had to find a way to charge the battery. And as you know, this is in a mountain area, it's in the forest as well. We have to find a way to charge. We have to find someone that bring the charger as well to charge our phones. So that is the challenges that we had. Yeah. So it is not because of Sapura that is overloaded with the phone system, but because there was no signal at all.
Okay.
answer questions.
Yeah, I think that's all for the discussion. I would like to congratulate to the team. I think, and as well as the panel for the discussion. I think this team had a good experience. Number one, they have done well in their presentation. Number two, the most part is they have experienced what we have not experienced before, managing patients with earthquakes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Few housekeeping message. Just to remind, all presenters kindly go to secretariat room to collect the certificates. There's a slight change of the schedule tomorrow morning, which is 8 a.m. to the 8:30 clinical dialogue.